Hello everybody and welcome to Gathering Information. Another set review is upon us.
Yay!
I am Step.
I'm Tams and I'm so excited I can hardly contain myself.
Alright, well, a few things before we jump right into the cards. First, this is the Hour of Devastation limited set review. We care about limited because A, that's where most of the cards are going to be relevant, or the most number of cards. B, it's where we like to play most, is in limited Magic. And C, it's where the greatest difference in card quality is most pronounced. Like in Standard, in Eternal formats, that's where you get basically your deck full of rares and maybe a few key commons like Lightning Bolt. But in a limited environment, you're going to play with more of the cards.
Absolutely, because in Constructed, you're picking cards specifically that are going to synergize with other things. Whereas in Limited, you're going to try to do that, but oftentimes you're going to be cramming other things together too. So this is very exciting for me.
And one more note, I know that there are other set reviews out there. Mostly they like to do things by color or by rarity. The way we sort our set review is the way that we think makes most sense from a limited draft or sealed deck perspective, which is we look at the creatures separately from the non-creature spells. Because we feel that putting the non-creature spells in the context of what creatures are in the set makes most sense.
For sure.
So in the spirit of that, we've got the creatures. We're starting off with the creatures, and we are going in Wooburg order with the commons and uncommons first, and then rares left to the end. So let's get started. Our first creature in white is Angel of the God Pharaoh. This is 4 white for an angel at uncommon. It's a 4/4 with flying, and it cycles for 2. Cycling is one of the returning mechanics. Of course, it was in Amonkhet, and there's still some debate over how effective it was as a mechanic. It was very slow for such an aggressive format, but there were some good ways to make use of it. So we're going to have to see throughout this set review whether we think cycling is going to be a useful mechanic or just some potential value, or if it's mostly going to be ignored. We'll see as we go.
Yep.
So as far as a 4/4 flyer for 6, where do we rate that?
Meh, it's fine. It's pretty much, it reminds me very much of another card we had in the last set.
The I can't think of what it was now. Seraph of the whatever.
The pretty much do nothing 4/4 angel.
I think it was a 3/3 for.
Yeah. But it's fine.
Which also cycled, but it cycled for white, I believe.
Yeah. If there is the stuff to do, blue-white flyers or something, and I find myself short of a 6-drop, something high-end, this is fine. It does cycle, so it's card draw, but I'm not that excited about it.
For me, I think this is going to be a 23rd.
Yeah.
It's not going to make the cut most of the time, but if I need a finisher, or if I need, a large creature, this might make it. The fact that it cycles makes it a little better, but not, overly. So I put it at 23rd. Next, we have Aven of Enduring Hope. This is not an angel. 4 and a white for a 3/3 bird cleric at common. It has flying, and when Aven of Enduring Hope enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. This I like quite a bit better. A 3/3 flyer for 5 is comes down maybe 2 turns sooner than a 4/4 flyer for 6. So you're going to get an extra, 3 to 6 damage out of this creature over the uncommon angel we just saw. Plus, you gain the 3 life when it enters the battlefield. So there's no that's not a maybe. That's not a, well, if I have a tapped creature, or if I have 3 or more deserts, or it's just something that happens. So,
and this is the kind of life gain you like. The incidental, you're just going to get it, life gain.
Yeah, I would play a 3/3 flyer for 5. In most sets, that's fine.
Yep, I think this is like a solid fill up my deck playable card.
Yep, I'd say mid-pack playable. Like, I'd get it on the wheel, or if I knew I was strongly in those colors, I'd just pick them up. Yep. So next, we have Dauntless Aven. 2 and a white for a bird warrior at common. It's a 2/1 flyer, so we're seeing a theme already in white. Seem to be a lot of flyers, angels and avens. Now, when Dauntless Aven attacks, untap target creature you control. So, what do we think of a 2/3 flyer?
Okay, just looking at its stripped away stats, it's meh. It would be probably a 23rd card for me in a flying deck.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's just fine. It's nothing exciting. But for me, when you put on that little thing, and it's not when you exert it when it attacks, it's every time it attacks.
It's pseudo-vigilant that way. Like, if you want to untap this thing, then you can. Or untap another attacker, or possibly a mana creature.
Okay, here's my question. We've been looking at metrics. I don't know when we're planning on sharing those, because I think the amount of eternalized creatures also will make this better.
Eternalize?
Yeah, no, not eternalize. Exert, sorry, yes.
So, exert is a returning mechanic. We'll get to that in a moment, but we'll keep this in mind for that.
Okay.
The fact that this is evasive, it has flying, means that you're not just going to run it into opposition and have it die right away. There's still the possibility, because as we've seen, there seems to be a lot of flying so far. But I like this as a mid-pack playable. You know, something that I'll pick up when I see it.
I'm going to be happy if I'm in this kind of deck to grab one.
Yep. Next up, we have Disposal Mummy. 2 and a white for a zombie jackal at common. It's a 2/3, and when Disposal Mummy enters the battlefield, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard.
I like this card quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. 2/3 for 3 is fine. I mean, I prefer 3/3 for 3, but it's okay. But it's a zombie, which is relevant. And the fact that it is removal for some things. As we're going to see, there's going to be a lot of creatures getting into your graveyard that you may trade off and bring back. And in a lot of cases, they come back as much, much bigger threats. And to be able to blank one of those creatures right before they even get to use it could be very strong.
Yeah, I'd say about half the time this is going to be just a vanilla 2/3. And a 2/3 for 3 is not exciting to me, but it's fine. It's the kind of thing that, sure, whatever, I'll pick up. I prefer a 3/2 for 3.
Sure.
But this ability means that you're going to sideboard them in against any deck that has Embalm or Eternalize or even Aftermath cards, because there's a lot of things that you want to take out of the graveyard.
Yeah, and as you're going to see as we go through the creatures and then the non-creature spells, there is still a fair amount of zombie synergy in this set moving forward, so the zombie type is not irrelevant in a lot of cases.
So for me, this is going to be a late pickup. It's going to probably be a 23rd on my list, but with sideboard potential.
Absolutely. I think for me it's going to depend on the deck that I'm building. In pack 1, this is probably going to be a very late pick.
Okay.
In pack 2 or 3, if I happen to be in...
Well, it'd be pack 2.
Fair enough. In pack 2, if I seem to be, having some zombie synergy, I might pick it up a little sooner.
And that's the other thing we didn't mention at the beginning, is that this draft format is going to be Hour of Devastation, Amonkhet, which means you're going to get 2 packs of Hour and 1 pack of Amonkhet. And we'll be putting our review in that context. So let's continue. Dutiful Servants. This looks familiar to me. 3 and a white for a creature zombie at common, and it's a 2/5.
Mm-hmm. It's like they've taken a step forward and taken those who serve, and this is the next step. The art is very, very much almost the same, just a little bit different. For me, this card, again, a 2/5 for 5. No, for 4, sorry. I think it's going to depend on how slow the set is. If this is a really fast format like the last one was, you're probably not going to run it where you might run those who serve, because it's a little less. Are you looking at the art?
Yes, it's almost literally the same art. You've got the 3 mummies. They're just carrying different packages.
But again, the zombie thing could matter depending how much you want them. But I think it's going to be difficult to really get a grip on what this is going to do. But for now, I just think it's
So for me, with those who serve, it was a 2/4 for 3 for 2 and a white. And that was surprisingly good.
Yes.
Because you're used to getting that rate at 4 mana. Now, at 4 mana, you usually see a 2/4 with some sort of ability. And at 5 mana, you usually see a 3/5 vanilla. So this is halfway in between, and I don't think it's going to be good enough to be a high pick. But I didn't really think that about those who serve either. Although I did think that they looked a little better than maybe we thought, and then that ended up being true.
Sure.
So what we're going to really look for the rest of the set is, are you going to want to block? If you want to block, then these guys are going to be solid. And if you don't, then they're not.
Also, how fast? Because if it's a super fast format, you may not be getting to 4 mana and playing this guy
You
often.
may want to get to 4 mana and play something a lot better.
Yeah.
You know? Get to 5 mana and drop your Glory Bringer, you know? So, yeah. I'm going to say probably 23rd card in this case. For me.
Yeah.
Next we have God Pharaohs Faithful. Single white for an 0/4 human wizard at common. That right there is a card we've seen numerous times. Usually an ox or a camel or some sort of beast of burden. But this one has a little extra text. When you cast a blue, black, or red spell, so bolus colors, you gain 1 life. What do we think of this?
Okay, this is a really strange card. So an 0/4 for 1, if you are in the dirtily control deck that really wants to put down a bunch of large bums to keep your opponent from doing things because you're trying to get to the late game for something.
Yeah, you want to go shields up.
Then sure, you know what this is. You know what this will do for your deck. Now, there is a lot of incidental life games sprinkled throughout this set that I'm wondering if it's going to be relevant. There are a couple of mythics that it matters to, which won't matter as much. So maybe in Constructed, there is something going on here that they're thinking about. But the other thing is, and we're not going to get there for a while, but there'll be an enchantment in white when we get to the enchantments that could make this card in a control deck quite good.
Okay, so you're saying this could be part of some sort of build-around scenario?
Or just, I wouldn't even say build around, just it's something that will make its toughness even tougher, and I think it works as a lure, almost, but we'll see when we get there. Still, for me, this is only the deck that wants it, and you'll know if you want it.
So, this is obviously a control card. I mean, it's gaining life, it's got high toughness, and it has the control colors, the blue, white, or black. Well, black-white tends to be more mid-range or aggressive, but blue and black are traditional control colors. I mean, it's mostly there as flavor text. This is most of the time going to be an 0/4, which you generally don't want, but it could find a home. So I'm going to say this is part of a build-around strategy or a control deck, but not something I'm going to want very often.
No.
Okay. Moving on, we've got Mummy Paramount. 1 and a white for a 2/2 zombie at common. Now, 2/2s for 2 are fine, right?
It's a bear. Everyone likes bears.
Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, Mummy Paramount gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So how do you feel about a 3/3 for 2?
Pretty good. He is a bear with an upside.
Yep. And those tend to be pretty good.
And the thing is, as we've already discussed, it's really not that hard to take advantage, even a little bit, without going out of your way to super build around, to get value off of that little added bonus. And a 2/2 for 2 is fine. You're going to want a couple anyway.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be a fairly high pick for me. I'm not going to pick it over anything that has a ridiculous upside, but I'd say... I don't know, 3rd or 4th in the pack, or if I'm already in white, this is the kind of thing that I'm definitely going to look for.
I'm going to be on the lookout for, for sure.
Next we have Oketra's Avenger. 1 and a white for a 3/1 human warrior at common. This is a card on the face of it that I usually like quite a bit. They're aggressive cards. They don't die to much more than what a 2/2 would die to, and they have the power to punch through some extra early damage. This one says you may exert Oketra's Avenger as it attacks. When you do, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it this turn. So the exert mechanic is returning. As we know, exert means when you exert this creature, it doesn't untap during your next untap step. That doesn't mean you can't untap it through other means. And most of all the cards from Amonkhet said you can exert when it attacks. We're going to find that's not the case here, but in this case we've got just another would-be Gustwalker kind of scenario where this is very difficult to block if you don't have something that's big enough to survive.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to trade in combat, then it might... take the next turn off and not trade in combat, you know? Very difficult to kill.
I think this is a sweet little kind of aggressive card, but it also means that Dauntless Aven that we talked about, that when it attacks, allows you to untap another creature. You've got a sweet little thing going on there.
That with this makes...
me a happy girl.
Yeah, it looks aggressive from what we've seen so far, but we're going to see what the rest of the set holds.
Sure, this could also be mid-rangey because you are taking... Well, no, if you've got the Aven, you're not, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm going to take this fairly highly. I don't know about first pick, maybe in a weak pack, but definitely it's something that would move me into white if I saw it come around 3rd or 4th. I think cool. It's a high pack pick. Next, we have Solitaire Camel. 2 and a white for a common camel. It's a 3/2. I'm not sure why a camel is a 3/2, but yeah, we'll leave it there. Solitaire Camel has lifelink as long as you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard. So this is another one of the mechanics that we kind of saw a glimmer of in Amonkhet, but it never really... it was never really there. We never really cared about deserts before. Now we actually do. And there are quite a few what look like playable deserts now. Yeah. It should be easy to pick up a desert or two and just have a desert or two to for this to matter.
This card makes me happy. And you know why? And this is ridiculous. It's not even because the card is pretty good. It's because we often see cards like this where you get a camel or an ox or some other random creature, and they're never good. You never play them. But this camel will probably see play.
This camel actually looks pretty good. It's a 3/2 for 3, which, as I said, I prefer over a 2/3 for 3.
Yeah, it's good.
And the benefit of lifelink doesn't even have to be there for me to want to play this. I mean, it's not a high pick, but if I have deserts or care about deserts, then I'll snap these up for sure.
This is the card that I'm going to be taking that 23rd pick that I have and going, oh, good, I will get rid of the 23rd and throw this guy in because he's infinitely better. The desert cards, as we're going to see the 2 cycles of them, there's cycling in one of them, so there's not a lot of downside to playing them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he could be quite sweet.
So, above replacement level, probably mid-pack.
Mm-hmm.
Steadfast Sentinel. 3 and a white for a common human cleric. It's a 2/3 for 4. So, we want to see a little more than that. With Vigilance, that makes it maybe a little better. I don't know. But it does have Eternalize for white. Now, Eternalize is the new Embalm. Things have stopped being embalmed, and now the eternal creatures are coming out of the gates to the afterlife, and they're a little different. So when you Eternalize, you exile this card from your graveyard and create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a black zombie, and it's a 4/4. It keeps all of its other relevant abilities. So this one will be a 4/4 black zombie human cleric with Vigilance. And that seems pretty good to me.
And a very important point is Externalize can only be cast as
a sorcery. Yeah, just like Embalm, you can only... it's like casting a creature spell. You can only do that on your turn.
Mm-hmm. And something else we didn't read, because we didn't read the whole thing. If it matters in what you're doing, it also comes back and has no mana cost.
Right. That doesn't matter most of the time, but it might.
It could, yeah.
So, how do we feel about a 2/3 Vigilance?
It's okay.
How do we feel about a 4/4 Vigilant for 6?
It depends how slow the format is.
Yeah.
Because for me, in Amonkhet, no. No.
So, I feel like this is going to be a 23rd or probably replaceable. If I'm playing this, I'm not going to be super happy about it.
Mm-hmm. If this set turns out to be super grindy, then sure, okay, you get this in the bin, and you get back a 4/4 with Vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
Those stats on the field are great, but I just don't know if it's too expensive.
Yeah, if I'm not sure if I want to play a 4/4 flyer, then a 4/4 Vigilance is not going to make it, so...
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you're looking at 4/4 for 6, and talking about slow versus quick formats, you're assuming in a perfect world you're casting it on 6, but you've got to get it into the graveyard within a turn to cast it for 6.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm mostly looking at this as a 2/3 Vigilance for 4, and
And it's not a zombie, so there's no synergy there, so I'm kind of meh.
We saw, who was it? The 3/2 Vigilant for, I think it was also 4, and that seemed to me better than this in Amonkhet, but this is similar. So, yeah, moving along. Stewart of Solidarity. 1 and a white for an uncommon human warrior. It's a 2/2. We've got a bunch of bears in this set. Now, like we said, bears are fine. Bears with upside are even better. And this one seems pretty good to me. You can tap and exert Stewart of Solidarity to create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with Vigilance. Now, this is an exert creature that doesn't exert when it attacks. Don't try to attack with it and exert it, because tapping it is part of the cost, and tapping is part of the cost of attacking. So you cannot do both of those things. It's one or the other. But
no.
Well, but when your bear stops being able to punch through damage, when they have something to block it, you can just sit it back and make a 1/1 every other turn.
I'm really hoping that this card is as good as it looks like it could be, because also when you get to a board stall where everybody has, stuff, nobody's attacking, or you're sitting there wishing for that other land or whatever, it becomes good in the defense as well. And yeah, he seems pretty neat. If nothing else, he turns your 2/2 bear who can no longer do much into something useful.
You can exert him at instant speed, so you suddenly might have an extra 1/1 to block with. You can't block with this and make a 1/1 and also block with that, so there's, you know, some sequencing to go about there. But this feels to me a little more like we're getting away from absolute aggression into a mid-range kind of feel. And that's what I like. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. But this one is another one that I would pick high. Again, I don't know about first pick. In a weak pack, I'd think about it, but definitely high in the pack. Next, we have Sunscorched Champion. 2 and a white for a 2/3 human wizard at uncommon. When Sunscorched Champion enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its power. So a 2/3 for 3 that gains you 2 life. That seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, it seems fun.
You can also eternalize it for 2 white, discard a card. So that's interesting. It's not just a mana cost. You have to have a card that you don't want. Be it another eternalized card, or maybe just a land that you've been holding on to. I think there are ways to make that not a downside.
Absolutely.
And when you eternalize it, it'll be a 4/4 black zombie human wizard, and you'll gain 4 life.
Yeah.
This seems good to me.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think the discard a card is not as much of a downside in this set with all the things going on as it might have been in other sets. We saw it with the Miasmic Mummy in the last set. At first glance, I was like, I'm never playing this thing. And most people would run one if they needed a 23rd card. And
sure, it's not great, but and that was also partially because you needed 2 drops, and so any 2 drop was okay.
Yep.
But yeah,
I think it's I think this could be pretty sweet.
I think it could be very good, depending. I don't know again about how high I'm going to pick it. If I'm in the color, I'll pick it up because a 2/3 for 3 that gains you 2 life just on its own seems good. And like you say, there seems to be a lot of life gain in white. So we'll see how that affects the race and the aggression. So where would you pick this up?
I want to be in white before I pick it. It's not something that's going to make me go into white. So it's a fine support card for me. I will put it in if I'm going to be in white and I need a 3-drop and be happy about it.
If I see it late in the pack, I'm going to think that maybe I should be looking out for white. It's not going to be an absolute signal, but I would not be unhappy to run it. So I'm going to say middle of the pack, middle to late pack, I'll pick it up. And then if I am in white, I will pick it up quite a bit higher than that.
Yeah.
Vizier of the True. 3 and a white for a creature, human cleric. At uncommon, it's a 3/2. You may exert Vizier of the True as it attacks and not do anything, but whenever you exert a creature, tap target creature an opponent controls. Ooh.
Yeah, and it's whenever you exert. It doesn't have to be him. It doesn't have to be...
So if you think he's going to die from attacking, you can just swing in with your 2/1 Aven that exerts to untap something.
Yeah.
Untap itself, and no, that's not an exert, is it?
No, it's just whenever it attacks.
Right.
But something else is a little more combat.
Or if you swing with your whole team and your whole team exerts, you can tap down their board. This seems like it could be very good.
Yeah, it seems like it could be quite strong.
It's a 3/2 as opposed to a 2/3, so that makes it a little more valuable since you're getting blockers out of the way anyway.
And there's a little bit of flexibility on how you utilize the card. Like, you can protect it a little bit. It still dies to, most removal, but certainly in combat situations, you can keep it from dying. So I think it's could be quite powerful.
So for me, it's going to be a mid-pack pickup. And this is probably a 4-drop I'm going to want to run. Instead of one that I'm going to want to try to replace. So it's above replacement level, I'd say. And I'd pick it up middle of the pack.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Oh,
Now
boy.
we're on to the rares.
Oh boy, this card. This card.
I didn't know what this art was when it was first spoiled because we, of course, first saw the promo version of this card. But as soon as I saw where it was sitting, I thought, yeah, that fits. Adorned Pouncer. 1 and a white for a cat. It's a 1/1. So what do you think of a 1/1 for 2?
Blah. Not gonna play it.
What if it had double strike?
Maybe.
I mean, it's
a 2-drop, right?
It's not strictly better than a 2/1 like a piker, but it's a little better than a piker,
it's
right?
still a 2/2 for 2 power, so it's okay.
What if I told you it could become a 4/4 from your graveyard for 5 mana?
With double strike?
Yep.
Boy, howdy. And it's a cat?
Would you play an 8/4 for 5? Because I sure would.
Especially in a relevant creature type?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy, this card. Oh yeah, I think it's going to find a home not only happily unlimited, but I think it's going to find constructed use very much so.
I think even in standard, this looks like it could absolutely be playable. The fact that it's a cat makes my assessment a little wonky because I love cats, but I would first pick this. This seems like a first pick.
I will first pick this, absolutely. A 4/4 double strike for 5. It's pretty good.
It's the kind of thing that in a cube I would pick this and then say shotgun all in mono red, you know? Like
yeah, and here's another point is we were talking earlier about well, is this card going to be good because to eternalize it you need to discard a card. Well, you put this on, if you cast this, first of all your opponent's going to have a hard choice. Do I block and kill it? And then you can bring it back, or do I keep taking 2?
Right.
But the other option you can have is, you know what? I will just discard this.
So we're talking about the Sunscorched Champion.
Yes.
If you just discard Adorned Pouncer, ooh boy.
You are eternalizing it back as a 4/4 double strike.
That seems pretty good.
I was super excited when I did the set review notes yesterday. I was like, oh boy. Oh boy.
Yep. Yeah,
There's a
I'm
standard
definitely
deck I
going
want to
to
build.
first pick it. It's not unbeatable. It's not like some
no.
crazy bomb, but it's an exciting card that I want to play with.
Yeah.
And it seems very strong. Like
It's
very
definitely
solid.
going to be removal
Removal
magnet.
date, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And like, when do you remove it? Do you remove it when it drops on turn 1? Like, do you shock this and then they have an 8/4 sitting in their graveyard? You know, like
No, you keep your electrify in hand and just wait.
and just wait for it to come back. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very good card. First pick. Angel of Condemnation, a 2 white for another angel at rare. It's a 3/3, so a 3/3 for 4 with flying. Oh, and let's tack on vigilance.
Oh, this card is one that I will first pick. Now, but there's
I would
more.
first pick that.
Yeah.
3/3 flying vigilance for 4. That seems like a solid playable. This is the kind of 4-drop that I absolutely want.
Oh, but we're not done.
No. You can pay 2 and a white and tap it to exile another target creature. Then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So they learned their lesson from Felidar Sovereign, where immediate flicker, like instant speed flicker combo is just busted. So this waits a turn to come back, whatever it is. So you can flicker your own things to get around removal. You can flicker your own things to reuse enter the battlefield abilities. You can flicker your opponent's things to get their blockers out of the way.
You can use this with your exert creatures because it
Give it pseudo vigilance. Yeah.
So, but we're still not done. We
Oh,
get
what?
more.
There's more?
There's more.
So you can pay 2 and a white and tap it and exert Angel of Condemnation. So this is another mechanic that we're going to see a few times, is it taps to do something, or you tap and exert it to do something else. I really like exert being used this way.
Yeah.
So when you exert it, exile another target creature until Angel of Condemnation leaves the battlefield. So you can just banish or priest something every other turn.
This card is bonkers good.
It is so good. What was the Angel of Sanctions from Amonkhet? Was it 5 mana?
I think so.
And you only got to do that once?
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
And it embalmed, of course, and this doesn't do that. But, oh man.
And as I said, you're gonna meet an enchantment later on that you can put on this little puppy to make it even harder to get rid of. And, this is bonkers. Like, we don't do letter grades because
I don't like letter grades. I don't think they're effective.
But let me tell you, if I were doing a letter grade, there would be an A all over this.
I'd say A+.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the best cards in the set. Bar none.
It's ridiculous.
This is an absolute bomb first pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So enough gushing over the angel, and moving on.
Downside to this, if they do manage to kill it, which isn't that difficult because it only has 3 toughness.
That is true.
They get all of their creatures back.
Yep.
If you have to flicker this thing to avoid removal, they get all their creatures back.
Yeah, that is a good point.
And you need to start all over.
Yeah.
So there is downside, but there is so much upside.
But yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It's not broken, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
How many things do you need to banish before this is just paid for itself?
Not many.
Like one.
Right?
Yeah. All right, Crested Sun Mare is our first mythic of the set. 3 white for a horse. It's a 5/5. That's a big horse.
5/5 for 5? I'm all in, especially in white.
Look at that mane.
That's magnificent.
Okay, so a 5/5 for 5 in white, yes, seems fine. Other horses you control have indestructible.
Well, Step, are there any other horses in this set?
I don't remember. We'll find out.
Regardless.
You don't really need any other horses.
If you want horses, you can make some at home. We'll tell you how.
So, at the beginning of each end step... Let's read that again. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token.
So remember how we were saying that life gain could be relevant in this format? Now, bear in mind, this is a mythic rare.
Yeah.
But if you get this card... Boy, howdy.
Start picking up your life gain cards.
Oh, and those horses will be indestructible. This is the horse that I want. This is the horse I'm betting on. If I get it, and especially in League, oh, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in white.
Okay, so a 5/5 for 5 is fine on its own.
Yep, it's good.
We have played, Colossopede in green.
And loved it.
And that's in green. Like, this is in white.
And we're going to notice that a couple of times through the set is things in one color that seem very much like another color. So
yeah, this feels very much like a green card to me, but indestructible, and it makes tokens. The tokens are huge, but yeah, it seems like, I don't know, a little color shifted. But yeah, this seems very good. Even if you gain life once, it's already amazing. And if there's anything with repeatable life gain, like at the end of each turn or whatever, then you're just making a horse every turn.
Suddenly, that white-black deck with all those not fantastic enchantments seem a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. If you cycle and gain life or whatever, that seems real good. So, where do we put this? I don't think it's absolutely busted, because you do have to do work. It's not itself indestructible, and life gain is not guaranteed, so I'm looking at it just as a 5/5, but I'd probably first pick this thing and then try to build around it.
Oh yeah, I would gleefully grab it and build around it, because first of all, it's not going to be tough to do, and regardless, even if you don't succeed in getting a bunch of life gain, you still have a 5/5 for 5.
So I'm going to say this is a high pick, possibly first pick. First pick build around, or high pick if you're already in the color.
I will first pick this every time I see it.
Yeah.
If it opens in pack 2, I'm still probably going to first pick it, because
and then move in.
Even if it's not so much move in hard, it's white seems this time like it will make a really good companion color anyway, so this could be my second color.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really
It
good.
is double white, so it's not
double
splashable.
white. Well, most people would say it's not splashable. Some people
We'll see.
are kooky.
We'll see how the fixing is when we get there.
Not me.
All right. Next, we have Jeru with eyes open.
Ah, so his eyes have been opened now, have they?
Yes. He is no longer a fervent initiate. He has now opened his eyes and realized that there's some shenanigans going on.
There are shenanigans afoot.
For 3 white, he is a 4/3 with vigilance. Mm-hmm. He's a human warrior. He's also a legend, so say hello to a new commander, possible playable. So a 4/3 with vigilance for 5 is fine.
Yeah, that's good.
When Jeru with eyes open enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a Planeswalker card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Remember how I said possibly commander playable?
Yeah, what I have down in my notes are, it's definitely constructed playable.
So the Planeswalker clause in Limited is not going to happen, like, ever. Maybe in a sealed setting.
Yeah, sealed league, sometimes it happens, but not very often.
If you do happen to get a Planeswalker and then this guy comes around, sure, but there also aren't any white Planeswalkers in this set, so...
Yeah.
We'll see. He works real well with Gideon, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. If a source would deal damage to a Planeswalker you control, prevent 1 of that damage. So again, we're looking at a 4/3 for 5 with vigilance, which is certainly playable. I don't think I would first pick this.
I would not first pick this, no.
It's a 4/3, which is much too easy to kill. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still fine. It's still a strong
The vigilance
card.
Is great, yeah.
If it got passed to me second or third, I would probably pick it up just because it's a rare. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking for something a little more exciting in the pack.
For sure.
So, high pick, but not first pick.
Not first pick for me either.
Oh, and is that the end of white? That's the end of white.
That is the end of white.
That felt quick to me.
It's a small set.
It is a small set. So, what did we think of white?
It's synergistic, it seems. It doesn't have to be, but it can be.
Sorry. Can you start over? It's synergistic?
It's synergistic. Doesn't have to be, but certain cards play really well and enable abilities of other cards, which is nice to see. Not that I think we're going to be doing mono decks at all here, but it makes it easier to, pick and stick with white for as long as you can before moving into another color. And some of the rares and mythics seem amazing, and the other stuff is good.
So, I want to just go over the power and toughnesses a little bit.
Yep.
We have had mostly on par or higher power than toughness, which leads me to believe that this is going to be another aggressive color. White usually is, of course. We'll have to see how the removal stacks up, but we've got things like 4/4s, 3/3s, 2/1s. We do have a couple of 2/3s, but they seem to have relevant combat abilities. And we had, a 3/2 and a 5/5. And at rare, at least, we've got a 5/5 and a 4/3. So it does look like attacking is going to be more valuable than blocking, at least in white. Let's move on to blue.